All right, let's get into the meat and potatoes of the show, my friends. Let's get into the waiver wire.
Put me in, coach.
Oh, my goodness.
It's a big one.
Yeah, we're going to really need to be hitting the best signings here because there are a lot of guys. Let's talk about the situation. Let's start at wide receiver and talk about the situation taking place right now in Baltimore, which is, Steve Smith out with the Achilles injury. Somebody has to fill in, don't they? Is it Kamar Aiken?
It is. Yeah, we saw in just a few quarters when Steve Smith was out, Kamar Aiken had 14 targets in that time. The targets are going to be going his direction. And unlike, what happened when Dez Bryant went out and Terrence Williams had to get the targets, he has a quarterback that can get him to him. So I think that Kamar Aiken is a must-grab if you need a long-term prospect, but we have to be realistic that he's on the bye this week. One, that helps you grab him. So if you need a guy for the rest of the season, a decent play, that's good. But if you need a guy to start this week, then obviously he's not going to help you.
I think you need to monitor what they do in free agency a little bit because they're going to sign somebody, maybe a couple of guys.
Yeah, Aiken's still going to be the target hog, I think.
Who do you think they could bring in?
Who can they grab and say, okay, here's our playbook, go out there and run every single route?
You're our number one.
Not many guys, but Crockett Gilmore, I move up a little bit just from a target perspective on that team. So if you are wavering on him, it has to be a mixture of talent and opportunity, and he's got opportunity part of it. I don't think Aiken is anything special. I think this was very similar to okay, let's say Keenan Allen's out for the year, right? Like, what do we think of Malcolm Floyd?
Well, Malcolm Floyd is he's a Deshaun Jackson kind of guy. He shows up big and then he disappears.
I'm not really arguing with anything anybody's saying. I'm just saying temper your expectations. Don't expect him to come in and be Steve Smith.
He's not going to be Steve Smith, right? Absolutely.
Number 18 in the wide receiver rankings right now is Tavon Austin. Tavon Austin put up a huge game last week. What do we think about him? I mean, he's on a lot of waiver wires and, more than 50%. And he keeps getting it done.
You called him well this last week when you made him your start of the week, and he exploded. Part of the reason you made him your start of the week was because of matchup, and you've seen him really take advantage of good matchups. He's used, and he has the talent portion of what you're talking about. He was a high draft pick in the NFL for a reason, and he is blazing lightning fast. However, I think he has to be a matchup play type of guy to me. This week he's playing Minnesota. I'm not sure what I would expect there. He could put up 10 points. I wouldn't be shocked.
Austin is one of those guys where, he keeps doing it every single week. But are you ever really comfortable putting him in your lineup?
No.
And that's the problem with him.
But compared to guys on free agency,
yeah, sure,
I
can see that. But
he at least can give you those kind of Deshaun. I mean, he's a lot like Deshaun Jackson from a fantasy production standpoint this year. He's averaging about 14 a game in half-point PPR. He's had, 4 double-digit games, 3 single-digit games. So, yeah, I mean, that he's a guy that should be owned, I think. But, yeah, he's not going to be perfectly consistent, and Jason's right, the matchups matter. We talked a little bit about it earlier. Jason said he prefers Stevie Johnson in the absence of Keenan Allen. Stevie Johnson and Malcolm Floyd are about the same ownership percentage in all of your leagues, about 28% in ESPN leagues right now.
I think they're both good ads. I would prioritize Stevie.
I think that's the right play. He's a little bit of a, Keenan Allen in the preseason talked about them in the same breath, that type of a player.
Phillip Rivers?
Who did I say?
Keenan Allen.
Yeah, I did mean Phillip Rivers.
Keenan Allen says, hey, Stevie Johnson and Keenan Allen, we're good.
You saw in the beginning of the year, the first 2 weeks, Stevie Johnson came out and was great. He was targeted a lot. He caught the ball a lot. He caught touchdowns. And then he got injured and went away, and now opportunity has come back. So I do think he's a really good ad. If I was going to add anybody for this week, a matchup that I'm confident in, they're playing against Chicago, I love Stevie Johnson. He would be my number one wide receiver claim.
Monday Night Football game.
There you go. Excellent. And the last guy I'll mention is Brandon LaFell. He is about 50% owned, so he may or may not be available. He played over 80% of the snaps last week, and he was very highly targeted. I think he had 7. So Moving forward, LaFell is going to get even more involved in the offense. The thing to watch about him, like I mentioned, was as soon as they got in the red zone, he got pulled out. I don't know if that's going to continue or if that's just a because
that's what you don't know with New England. One-time game plan.
Are they working him in slower in the red zone or not? But he's on the field so much, and the Patriots are scoring so many points that Brandon LaFell will get his. But so how would you guys prioritize these guys? Aiken, Austin, Stevie Johnson, Floyd, and LaFell.
Man,
who's your number
one?
Okay,
rest of season or like for the next week? For next week.
How are you picking them up? Let's say you need a wide receiver.
If I'm rest of season, I take the shot on Aiken.
Okay.
If I'm looking for next week, I probably sign Stevie Johnson. That's the truth.
Yeah, I'm the same, except if I'm rest of season, I would probably take Brandon LaFell over Aiken just because of offense and the hope that he can score a lot more touchdowns than Aiken can.
Yeah, I kind of left LaFell out of my brain.
LaFell's kind of harder because he's
right.
more owned, but
yeah,
LaFell number one.
Yeah, if he's
Aiken,
not available, then
LaFell.
I would see Aiken that way.
All right, we need to talk about the main event here, the running back position. Yes, thank you for that. DeAngelo Williams.
Yep.
How much are you spending?
Everything.
All of it.
Everything.
So you guys are both completely 100% committed to D-Will being a top 12 back.
Everything.
Yeah, I really am. I mean, when we say we're spending everything, that means if you've got the top priority, you obviously put your claim on him, and that means that you look at if you've got the FAAB system, look at your FAAB and look at the league, right? Because, Mike, I know in one of our leagues you have the most FAAB available to you. I think you've got $96 available, which is lunacy. Get involved, Mike, in your waivers. However, the next highest person only has 70. So you're bidding 71. Look at that so you don't just waste money on your FAAB if you know you're making, a max type bid.
But
that's a good point.
DeAngelo Williams, the first 2 weeks when Le'Veon Bell was out, was the number one running back. The offense is too good in Pittsburgh. It runs through the running back, and you know he's going to be involved. There's nobody else there that's really going to take anything of note away from DeAngelo Williams. He's looked solid.
You're not worried about Isaiah Peed?
Even this week in half a game after Le'Veon Bell got injured, he finished without a touchdown in a low-scoring game
top 12.
And was a top 12 back.
Unbelievable.
And you have to remember, DeAngelo Williams has always – I mean, you want to talk about a talented guy. He's a great runner. He's just older, and he was always in a timeshare, and he was always in a low-scoring offense. Now he's coming to a great opportunity. So he's got to be –
Yes,
everything.
All right, so you missed out on DeAngelo Williams because he's the top ad. Everybody's going after him. You don't got the FAAB. You don't have the waiver priority. Let's talk about the Forte situation. Now, we don't know. There's misinformation. My prediction is that Forte misses 4 to 5 games.
Really?
Yes. I could be completely wrong. And you guys will let me know when I am.
No, not at all. Because this is all just speculation off of a.
Let's put it this way: I am treating the signing of Jeremy Langford as a 4 to 5 week ad for my team.
Okay.
So I did some research on Langford. I wanted to look at him a little bit closer because we want to know, just like we wanted to know with Char West, is he going to be a guy that can contribute to your fantasy team, or is he just a guy? You know, the 49ers are in a situation where they have to put just the guy in the backfield. Nobody's putting that guy at the top of these lists, okay? Langford was a 4th-round pick from Michigan State. He played wide receiver. He played cornerback early days, Michigan State. He's got hands, which lends itself to some baseline numbers there if he's the starter. He's a pretty talented guy. He's not a super physical guy. I don't know what we'll see around the goal line with him. He's, kind of that middle-round pick. I like him probably the same as I would have treated West with upside because he's young. You're not just getting some, the offense is okay. It's pretty good. So I would spend a decent amount of money on Langford.
Yeah, the hardship here.
Because you're fighting to get in the playoffs, and so you need a start.
Yeah, if you are fighting to get in the playoffs, then he is a great guy. He's only owned in 2% of leagues. So, you might not be able to get D-Will, but you can get Langford. He's out there and available. The difference, obviously, is that we don't know how many games he's going to be relevant. So if you're the Forte owner, then go all in or, go a lot in
Very
to make
true.
sure you get
Very
him
true.
because then you've still got rest of season covered in that spot.
And the Bears, similar to the Pittsburgh Steelers, their offense is really predicated. The running back is extremely important to the success of the offense. So I do like Langford a good bit and he when Forte went out, Langford was the guy. The backfield is crowded, and there absolutely can be a surprise, which is why I'm not saying everything on Langford. I know what DeAngelo Williams is going to do and how he'll be involved. Langford, we're still kind of guessing from what they showed, but there's a lot of guys in that backfield. Kadeem Carey is still there, even though everyone's passing him on the depth chart. Just saying he's still there. The spectacular Anton Smith is there. So who knows? But as of now, I'm treating it like Langford will be the majority snap guy.
Yeah. So Langford is kind of number 2 on my list. Let's talk about some other guys. There are 3 players on bye this week, and I mentioned that because 3 running backs that you could probably get super cheap because of that. That's Joique Bell, Theo Riddick, and Buck Allen. They're all on bye this week. None of them are high-tier waiver wire guys, but we like to mention them because if you can sneak by and snag a guy that could be valuable down the line, Joique looked okay.
Yeah, to me, Joique Bell is the guy that I would want of the 3 of those. They used him in the running game, and it wasn't a great running matchup for them. And that was what I had said when they made that change, was they were wanting to be more balanced and do, carry the ball on the ground, not just run through the air. And so Joique is going to be the guy that does that. You have a bye week to get him just all the more healthy, to get that offensive line working. So, you guys had a water bet from the offseason that seemed insane that Andy could ever win it, because at the beginning of the year, it was second half of the year, Joique Bell versus Amir Abdullah.
Yes.
And right now, if I had to predict who's going to win that, I'm going to go
Second
Joique
half
Bell.
of the year starts.
Yeah, if I had to
This
predict who
week.
was going to win, it would not be me. Since Amir Abdullah cannot get on the field.
Yeah. A guy that I really like, we mentioned him already, but he's worth picking up. He's owned in most leagues, 57% of leagues, but C.J. Spiller is a guy that you should go out and grab with Kyrie Robinson being out, because Spiller's been very good. Andy gives a big frowny face because he dropped them going into this week.
Oh, no.
It
happens.
This week was terrible. I saved money all year long. I'm not the most frugal FAAB guy in general. I take the philosophy you spend when you need to spend, and you get the guy and just be happy. It worked, signed Edelman last year real early, a lot of money. Spent $13 in last week on CJ Spiller, 13 FAAB. Nobody competed with me. Nobody bid against me, so I felt dumb spending 13 on Spiller. The news about Carlos Hyde comes out. I drop Spiller, spend $10 on Reggie Bush.
Which was a smart play.
Reggie
in my
Bush
opinion.
nobody bid against me, by the way. Maybe $1.
I didn't have a spot for him.
Reggie Bush goes sliding. By the way, Reggie Bush torn MCL, not ACL. So that is very good news for him. But $23 down the drain, and now Spiller's back on waiver wire. That's why that frowny face. You were correct, Jason. All right, I'm going to mention some other names. You guys talk about who you want to talk about. Carlos Williams, Chris Thompson, Matt Jones, David Cobb, Antonio Andrews.
Carlos Williams is a decent ad. I'd say he's pretty close to a must-add if you're a LaShawn McCoy owner.
Wouldn't you rather have Cobb or Andrews?
Not if you're LaShawn McCoy.
I'm saying if you're a LaShawn McCoy owner, you
Right.
want Carlos Williams because the carnage, man. You gotta buy that insurance right now. But so between, let's say, Thompson, Matt Jones, and David Cobb, and let's throw Antonio Andrews in there as well. What are you guys doing with these 4?
Before the head coaching change with Kid Wisenhunt, I didn't really want any of the running backs. I realized that someone could be valuable, but I could never anticipate a situation where I feel confident starting anyone from the Tennessee running game. However, with that coaching change and them maybe wanting to, try to get something going, I would take a flyer on either Andrews or Cobb, and I'd probably put them higher in that list. Cobb is probably the more exciting. He's the rookie that we haven't seen.
Right.
But Andrews has been playing well, so
I think of this list, I'd go with Chris Thompson, where The news out of Washington is still Matt Jones and Alfred Morris will continue to split, and Chris Thompson is the guy who gets in when they are down. And guess who Washington is playing this week?
New England.
The
They
New
will
England
be down.
Patriots. They will be losing.
Yeah.
Sorry, Washington fans. So I expect a healthy dose of Chris Thompson this week, who could be a very sneaky PPR guy.
Rest of season, theoretic Chris Thompson.
Theoretic.
Yeah, I would do that too. So, let me ask you this, guys. Carlos Hyde is out. Reggie Bush is out. Mike Davis is out. Broken hand. Who do you sign? I mean, somebody has to play running back in San Francisco for Blaine Gabbert, right?
Pierre Thomas.
We didn't mention
Did
the
we
Colin Kaepernick news.
Whoops. Sorry about that.
Yeah, there was a lot of news, but Colin Kaepernick has been benched. He's terrible. He really is. I mean, I feel like. I mean, if there's one thing I was wrong about, it was Colin Kaepernick in every way, shape, and form, except for the 2 weeks that he was my start of the week.
And he crushed it
And he
those
crushed
2
it.
weeks.
But I mean, I thought he was going to ascend this year, not descend into the pit of whatever he's doing right now. So
The pit of Tom Sula. That's not a pit you want to be in.
It's like a Sarlacc pit.
the pit of Tom Sula, it's just filled with chest hair.
Really
All right.
stinky.
Who do we pick up?
Is it Kendall Gaskins?
The answer.
Hey, we talked about this yesterday off the air.
They will sign somebody too.
Hit the breaking news button.
Breaking news.
49ers have signed Pierre Thomas.
Dude!
In your face.
They did? They signed him?
Did you listen to me just like rewind the tape about 5 minutes? Yeah, I said, you said, who do you sign? I said Pierre Thomas. I called that one.
Workhorse. No, we need to debate this. This is fresh. Fresh news on the air. We need to debate this.
100% sign Pierre Thomas. He is a talented back, he is the lone running back there, it seems like.
Hey,
Is
Gaskins
he depth?
around.
Is he depth, though?
No way. Pierre Thomas, here's my thinking why he's not
Be
depth.
careful not to speak in such absolutes, my friend.
All right. Well,
Kendall Gaskins has been a part of this offense. This
Sure.
complex to learn offense.
let me
There are 8 plays.
This well-oiled machine.
Let me rewind and give out a realistic expectation here for Pierre Thomas. Pierre Thomas would not sign a veteran minimum contract. He didn't want to come in, and the reason he hasn't signed yet is because he thought he was worth more. And so I'm guessing that, this is breaking news. I don't know, but I'm guessing he signed not a veteran minimum contract, which means
They signed Shane Drawn, too.
means
Sean Drawn.
if they're
Yeah.
paying him money, they're paying him to use him. Now, the starter is Carlos Hyde, and that's one thing we can't forget about here. Carlos Hyde is not gone for the year or anything like that. He's probably just
When you sign 2 guys, you might not be counting on them to come back.
well, Reggie Bush just went out, and then Matt Jones went out. 2 guys went out.
No, not Matt Jones.
Or
Mike Davis.
Mike Davis. I always their names are too
Moving
easy
on.
and simple.
But this signing to me, I'm not nearly as excited as Jason is. But of anybody from San Francisco, I would take a flyer on Pierre Thomas. This could be a Jim Tomsula desperately trying to save his job type of maneuver, where they have to. Tomsula has to win some games, or his career can be in trouble. So Pierre Thomas is a decent guy. I don't know of besides Ahmad Bradshaw, Pierre Thomas is the only running back I know of on the street right now who can come in and produce in kind of all phases of the game. So I think Pierre Thomas I'm
gonna go ahead and completely contradict you both, and I don't believe he'll be valuable in any way, shape, or form. I don't think anybody there will be valuable in any way, shape, or form.
That's
they
fair.
face the Seahawks. They face the Cardinals. Hyde will be back after the bye. Maybe I think is a waste of your FAAB. So
Yeah, well,
choose your favorite footballer.
I'm not saying spend anything on him, but if you're in a deeper league, taking a flyer on
that's
him,
fine.
He's a pass catching back.
A flyer's fine. That's what I did with Orleans Darkwa. That's that kind of guy. You just want to see what happens in a committee. I wouldn't count on him to be a contributing factor to your fantasy.
I wouldn't drop a lot of money on him, but I would definitely pick him up.
All right, we gotta go through tight ends real quick. Somehow Jordan Reed's still on our waiver wire list because he's only owned in 52% of leagues, which is just insanity.
People, Jordan Reed.
Same with Ben Watson.
Jordan Reed, when he plays and plays an entire game this year, he's put up double-digit fantasy points.
Yeah.
If he's healthy, you pick him up and you play him.
Yeah, if you're listening right now and you've got Greg Olson, just go, everyone check your waiver wire and see if Jordan Reed is there, because if he's on your waiver, you need to pick him up. Drop someone. He is worth that. Drop an Ahmad Bradshaw on your bench and pick him up.
Ben Watson still available in some leagues. He's got to be signed. We talked about Heath Miller having a much higher ceiling now that Big Ben is back.
And Lev Bell is gone.
Charles Clay, if he's been forgotten about in your league for some reason, been dropped. Tyrod Taylor's back. He had the best rapport with Tyrod Taylor, and Clay gets the targets.
Also, on Heath Miller, he's playing Oakland this week. So
oh, my goodness.
It's kind of a nice storm for
Heath
him.
Miller.
All right, we're going to get into our...
And Vernon Davis,
yeah,
we
and
talked
Vernon
about.
Davis. We're going to get into our streams as well. You guys want to move on to that? You guys want to talk streams?
Just some quick defensive matchups. The Bengals versus the Browns.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Rams versus Minnesota. The Patriots versus Washington. And I kind of like Philadelphia versus Dallas.
I love Philly versus Dallas. Yeah, absolutely.
So those are 4 that may or may not be available.